Ultimately, the Hajar Aswad was to be put into its place. And nobody was able to put Hajar Aswad in its place. And ultimately it was resolved that only one who is a Ma'soom will be able to do so. And when they looked around, they could see no Ma'soom except Imam Zainul Abidin salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Well, he came and he put Hajar Aswad in its place. Identical situation arose in the year 337 after Hijrah. As you know, Ghaibat Sughra was over in 329. That is when the last deputy, inshallah, next week, next Wednesday night, inshallah, we shall be discussing those episodes that took place in Ghaibat Sughra. So Ali bin Muhammad, the last deputy, he passed away, and Ghaibat Kubra started in 329. About 8 years later, the army of Karamata, and we have had occasion to discuss that episode also with regard when we were discussing the Ismailis. The army of Karamata attacked Kaaba, and again Kaaba was ransacked. Hajar Aswad on that occasion was removed and taken to Baghdad. Ultimately it was resolved that the Kaaba be repaired, and was repaired. Hajar Aswad was brought, and the question arose, who would put the Hajar Aswad in its place? Now this is a period of Ghaibat Kubra already. So the Imam alayhi salam was in concealment. It was not a question of saying, our As-Sadiq and Al-Amin, bring him back. Our Sayyidu Sajjad, bring him over and he'll do the job. Such a person did not manifestly and physically exist. So how is this task to be performed? All the pious sheikhs and qadis were invited. Each tried to put Hajar Aswad in its place. It would not stabilize there. It kept shaking, and the fear that it will ultimately be broken into pieces if it drops onto the floor. And at that particular point in time, the Imam alayhi salam intervened. But we get this episode, and I must lay the foundation for it fully for your satisfaction. We get this episode set, and it is set out by Ibn Shahr Ashub in his work Al-Manaqib, and it is reported by Sheikh Ja'far Qawliya. Sheikh Ja'far Qawliya says that he got information that from in Iran, he got information that the Karamata have decided to repair the Kaaba, and Hajar Aswad is to be replaced into its proper place. And he says, I immediately knew that this is the time to get the ziyarah of the 12th Imam alayhi salam. I knew that he will come out of Ghaibah and he will perform this holy task, and the house of Allah will be restored to its proper stature at the hands of this Ma'soom, and he will not allow this function to go unattended. And so I said, this is my chance to get the ziyarah of my Imam alayhi salam. And he set out from Iran saying he's going to Hajj. He wanted to say no more. And indeed, it was Hajj time. When he reaches Baghdad, he falls sick. And he has such high temperature, that he is not able to move. He said he was bedridden, he was so weak, and in such temperature he could not even sit. And that state continued for such a long time that he feared that he might lose the opportunity altogether. He therefore appointed a naib, an agent, to undertake Hajj for him. And he is called Ibn Hisham. Ibn Hisham was called by Ja'far Qawliya and is given a niyaba. But Ja'far Qawliya says, before I call him over, I wrote an aridha to the Imam alayhi salam. We are used to thinking that an aridha is only a paper that you can throw in a well or in flowing water. An aridha is no more than a petition to the Imam alayhi salam. All that it means is that it is like advocates doing petitions to the High Court, doing petitions to the Supreme Court. This is likewise a petition, or a petition to in England, a petition to Her Majesty. This is no more than a letter of great respect called aridha, a petition to the Imam alayhi salam. And it may be delivered in any way that is suitable in the circumstances. Ja'far Qawliyas knew that the Imam alayhi salam will be there in person. So he addresses him a letter in person and asks him his questions. But 2 questions he has revealed to us. We do not know his secrets, but 2 questions he has made public. He said, I asked him whether I would survive this fever that I had, because it was so bad that I was almost sure in my own mind that I would not survive it, that I was soon to die. And my second question was that if I was to survive this fever, how long will I live? How much time do I have to serve Allah, glorified and exalted? He says, I made that aritha and I sealed it up, and I put my seal on the front of it and the reverse of it. I called Ibn Hisham and I told him that I wanted him to do my niyaba, but I said the more important thing is this: the Karamat I have decided to replace the Hajar Aswad. Nobody will be able to put Hajar Aswad in its place except the Imam of the time, and that is Al-Hujjah Ajjalallahu Farajahu. Isn't it a sad reflection on you gentlemen here that the name of your living Imam is taken and your lips don't open to send blessings on him? Because this is the least we can do to serve him. This is the absolute least we can do to serve him. We shall discuss this at length inshallah on Sunday night. For the moment, Ibn Hisham says he alone will be able to put. I would like you to go there. Make sure that you meet him. Make sure that the person who ultimately places the Hajar Aswad in its place, you meet that person and hand over my aritha to him, hand over my petition to him. And if you find that it's important for you to come back and give me a reply, I forgive you the niyaba, don't perform the Hajj, and come back and let me have a report. And this is exactly what happened. Now Ibn Hisham says, I got there, but there was such a huge crowd of people, such a congregation who wanted to see the Hajar Aswad put into its place, that there was no way I could have found access to him. There was no way I could have even seen this person who was going to put the Hajar Aswad in its place, because there would be so many people surrounding him. So I went to the watchman there, and as you know, there are always soldiers guarding the Hajar Aswad. Whether they're guarding Hajar Aswad or are busy doing what they are seen to be doing is a different matter. But ostensibly they are there to guard Hajar Aswad. And he says openly, he says, I bribed them. I bribed them and said, look, I've got to see this person. I don't have to meet him, but I've got to see this person who will fix the Hajar Aswad in its place. And you must allow me opportunity to at least have a good look at him and I'll be able to identify him. Well, he had an advantage there because he was getting the ziyarah of his Imam. But he was also serving Ja'far Qawliya, and those people, having received the money, gave him that facility and guarded him and made sure that he was very close to Hajar Aswad. And he saw a number of qadis and sheikhs with big turbans, big beards, great eminence, coming to try and put the Hajar Aswad in its place, all failing to do so. What happens next is, he says, suddenly I saw people making way. So I turned back to look, what is happening? Why this commotion? And I suddenly saw that a youthful person, brilliant in personality, with light exuberating from him, coming in. And as he came in sedately and steadily, people became so overwhelmed by his personality that they made way for him. And he moved on as people made way until he came to the place where Hajar Aswad was. He took it from the hands of the Shaykh holding it, and he put it in its place. And as he put it in its place and kissed it, the Hajar Aswad was stabilized, well steady in its proper place. As you would expect, Ibn Hisham immediately knew, that is my Imam alayhi salam, which everybody else, all the hands of the sinners failed to achieve, what was left for the hands of the Ma'soom alayhi salam to carry out. And there he was, he performed that task. In other words, when in his ghaibah need arises for an Imam alayhi salam to perform a task unique to the Imam alayhi salam, there is no hesitation on his part. He is seen in public. His ghaibah is well protected. His personality is protected. Indeed, this is what I always keep saying. Ghaibah is a mercy of Allah, is a mystery of Allah. We do not know. It is not purely his sphere of life, because Allah has always protected him whenever he's been seen in public. It was so easy for the rulers of the time to murder him when he came to put Hajar Asad in its place. Yet nobody dared touch him. These miracles he has performed umpteen times again and again. And we will see from tomorrow night perhaps how he performs Hajj every year. And is seen by those who meet him, and is recognized by some of them. And yet nobody dares teach him. And it is well within the power of Allah, the all-powerful, the omnipotent, to guard him. But it is mystery of Allah, it is His will that the Imam alayhi salam is in ghaibah. But he is out when such occasions demand, and performs the functions that an Imam should perform. Indeed, we say there is no function that the 11 Imams alayhi salam, whom we have already discussed, performed physically, that our Imam alayhi salam of this time fails to perform even while in ghaibah. And I hope that in the course of these 10 nights, I hope we've already started to establish that reality, and in the rest of the evenings we will further fortify that proposition in its complete perfection. However, Ibn Hisham says he performed his task. I had to perform mine, and there was no way I could do so. So I immediately asked those guards to make way for me, and they did, and I started chasing him. But he was moving steadily, moving at a good pace, but no more. I was running, trying to go right, left, through the throngs of crowd in order to reach him. I was not able to reach him. The Imam alayhi salam would not have contact with him in that throng. He kept chasing the Imam alayhi salam. He kept chasing him. And the Imam alayhi salam moved, he said, sedately, with caution, peacefully, all along on a steady pace. I was running behind him, and that is the exact word he uses. I was running behind him. I could not keep pace with him until a time came when we were out of Makkah. When we were out of Makkah, I thought I would be able to catch him now. The throngs were not there, yet I could not. But when we came to a place where there were only two people, he and I, and no third person in that area at all, he stopped. He turned around to me and says, Ibn Hisham, now is the time when you can give me what you have come here to give me. Isn't that proof of the imamah? If without more, he revealed his identity unquestionably to Ibn Hisham. He knew exactly what Ibn Hisham was carrying. He says, this is the time. Telling him as it were, you might have been running after me. I could not have stopped in that throng to talk to you. We had to meet in camera, as it were. And so they did at that time. Says, now is the time to give me what you want to give me. Ibn Hisham says, I gave him the letter. He took the letter. Ibn Hisham says, I wanted to kiss his hands as I gave him the letter. But he took the letter in a way that I could not kiss his hand. And I looked at him, because he was looking at me, wanting to speak to me. And the words he said was, go and tell Ja'far Qawliya that he will recover from this sickness. He should not be concerned about this sickness. And tell him also that he will live another 30 years. What more was said, Ibn Hisham has not reported. But he's reported these two answers. He says, the moment he told me these two things, then, or whatever else was said, the moment that conversation was over of the messages to be sent to Ja'far Qawliya, I wanted next to kiss his feet, to kiss his hands. And as I knelt down to do so, there was nobody there in front of me. I was all alone. We were two before, now I was all alone. He had gone into ghaibah again, disappeared out of my sight. So I went back to Baghdad, reported the entire episode to Ja'far Qawliya, who was absolutely elated. He was disheartened that he did not have the ziyarah, the sighting of the Imam alayhi salam himself. But he said, it is enough that he has me in mind. and has been able to convey these messages. Needless for me to say, it was exactly in the year 367 that Ja'far Qawliya died, having prepared himself, having called his family and having told them that I am now going this year because the Imam alayhi salam has so told me, and made his wasiyah, prepared for his shroud, prepared for his grave, and indeed sorted out his estate. So one can see that again and again. I had intended to put in 4 more episodes to you, but obviously I've not been able to speak as fast as the clock went, and I must pause here. I must pause here to say this, that all this effort that the Imam alayhi salam is made in his ghaibah is to ensure that the religion of Allah survives. And one person whom he reveres, whom the Imam alayhi salam himself reveres in these times in which we sit in these majalises, is Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He holds majlises of Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself. If our Imam does that, all the more duty on us to do exactly the same thing. And he weeps on the Imam alayhi salam. Ziyarat al-Ahya is well accorded to him. It is well said that this is a ziyarah that he has recited. This Ziyarat al-Waris that we recite, Ziyarat al-Ashura, both of them have the stem of the 12th Imam alayhi salam. We do not have the opportunity now. I hope that opportunity comes. It is not on my schedule, but I hope the opportunity comes when we can discuss how he has authenticated both these ziyarats and recites Ziyarat al-Waris himself every Thursday night. This is the Imam alayhi salam who left Medina for Makkah, and from Makkah to Karbala. But while he was going to Karbala, as we have discussed in the year 2001, it is at Dhu Hisn that suddenly he hears Allahu Akbar in his army. When he hears Allahu Akbar, he turns around and says, "What is it?" And he says, "We see spears." The people say we see his own companions say we see spears. Some say these are only trees. The Imam alayhi salam says there will be no trees there, and indeed everybody says it is spears. In due course, the army of Hur is seen. When the army of Hur is seen, the Imam alayhi salam issues orders that we must now gallop along the mountains of the Dhu Hisn, because the mountain of Dhu Hisn will give us protection. We will meet the enemy in front. They will not be able to attack us from behind. And so they took that course. The enemy comes. And when the enemy comes, the Imam alayhi salam turns to Hur and says, "Hur, have you come as a friend or as an enemy?" The Imam knew a day will come when Hur will come as a friend. This day Hur says, "No, Yabna Rasulillah, I have not come as a friend." He dared not say I came as an enemy. This was Hur speaking, not Shimr la'natullah alayh. He said, "No, Yabna Rasulillah, I have not come as a friend. I have come to stop you going to wherever you are going and take you to Kufa." And the Imam alayhi salam's answer were golden words that have been enshrined in this gilded web till today. The Imam alayhi salam does not reply. Hur turns to Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam and says, "Abbas, don't you see how thirsty the army of Hur is? Don't you see that?" Abbas says, "Yes, my master, I do." He says, "Make a sabil for them and give them water." The 1,000 people with Hur were each given water. Indeed, the night before when he left, as we have already discussed, he carried with him enough water for this purpose, and each of them is given water. Would you not think it was enough for this merciful Imam to give water to the humans? He then turns around and says, "Oh my brother Abbas, look at these horses on which they are riding. Their tongues have come out. Will you not give water even to their horses?" And now the horses also were given water. And then the Imam alayhi salam says, "Pour water on the hoofs of these horses, because their hoofs are in this state." Hur saw all this, and Hur saw, and indeed all his 1,000 men saw all this. And then on the eve of Ashura, Hur, a commander sitting in his own camp, hears sounds from the tent of Imam Hussein, hears voices of little children saying, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, oh thirst, oh thirst. These children now almost at the stage of their death, dying for little water, and water has been shut away from them. Hur could not swallow this. The next morning he goes to Umar ibn Sa'd and says, oh Umar, you were talking of settlement. Is there no hope of settlement? And he says, no, there is no hope of settlement. Murrah reports that I then saw Hur coming out from the tent of Umar ibn Sa'd. I saw him shaking and shivering. I turned to him and said, Hur, if today somebody asked me who is the bravest man on earth, I would name you, and why are you shivering? And Hur said, Murrah, would I not shiver? I now see myself between one path of heaven and one path of hell. I see myself on the path of hell, and I want to see how I go on the path of heaven. He calls his son Ali, and he moves on to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. On the way he stops and tells his son, I will not now, I have reached the tent of Hussein alayhi salam, I will not go on my horse back to him. You bring my horse, but in the meantime, tie my hands like that of a prisoner. Hur's hands are tied by his son. He goes on his knees, and as the Imam alayhi salam sees Hur on his knees with his hands tied, he tells Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, says, oh my brother Abbas, go to Hur, that is Hur coming as a prisoner. I will not receive my guest in that state at all. You must with your own hands unfold this handkerchief with which his son has tied him. Get him up, not on his knees, and let him come to me as any free young man. And indeed, this is how the Imam alayhi salam meets Hur, embraces Hur. Hur weeps and keeps crying, says, Yabna Rasulillah, I brought you here. I caused you to be in Karbala. How can you forgive me for what is happening? Last night, I heard those little children of yours crying, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. I cannot forget, Ya Hussein, Ya Abdullah, I cannot forget how you gave us all water, not only gas, you gave water to our horses. Today we are withholding not your horses, but your little beloved children of water. Hur says, Ya Abdullah, let me be the first to sacrifice my life on you. Let me go so that I sacrifice my life first before anybody else goes. And forgive me. Tell me in my lifetime that you have forgiven me. Because if you forgive me, Allah might forgive me. Imam Hussein, in his copious generosity, turns to him and says, Ya Hur, I have forgiven you. My Allah has forgiven you. And he turns, Hur now turns to his son Ali and says, Ya Ali, you go and fight first so that you are killed in my lifetime. Indeed, when Ali goes and fights and eventually sacrifices his life, calls for his father, when Hur goes to the body of his son, what does he find? He finds Imam Hussein alayhi salam already there. Hur says, Ya Abdullah, why did you take this trouble? I have come to this body of my son. And the Imam alayhi salam says, Hur, this is the son, this is the body of a young son. I know what it is for an aged father like you to be on the body, on the last breaths of a young son like Ali. How will you do this? I had to come and give you help. We turn to Imam Hussein alayhi salam tonight and say, Ya Abdullah, when Shehzada Ali Akbar breathed his last, even Abbas was not there. The Imam could not even carry the body of Ali Akbar. He had to call little children. With the help of little children, the Imam alayhi salam carried the body. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة.
ساری جنت میں رسول ازلی لکھا ہے، ساری جنت میں رسول ازلی